Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Strawberry Hill Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Simmons, and as always, we're here at the Shop Cigar Lounge. Like I say every episode, make sure you come and visit us. But before we get started, make sure you like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Make sure you follow us on all social media platforms at Strawberry Hill Podcast. And so, to all my fellow Wyandotte Countyans, if you don't know, we have a local election coming up in November, and little do you guys know, we have both mayor candidates here. Welcome to the stage, guys. Miss Rose Mulvany Henry and Miss Christal Watson. How are you guys?
Thank you.
Fabulous.
Good.
Could not be better.
Good. And so we're going to kind of do not little debate, but we're going to do a little forum. It's more of a private setting, more of a podcast. I thought it'd be a good idea, and I'm glad you guys came here and decided to do it with me.
Well, thanks for having us.
Yeah, of course. All right. This could be really up to anyone first. This is like why did you decide to run for mayor? And it can be Rose, it'd be Christal first. Let's go that. Tell us about yourself and tell us why you're running for mayor.
Well, I am a Dot and born and raised here in Wyandotte County. Mm-hmm. I am the oldest daughter of Neil Poindexter, who was one of the first Black voices on radio at KMBZ, KMBR radio back in the day. He's since passed away. But he was very influential in my life and was probably the primary reason why I decided to pursue a political career. He was very involved in the community, and he always wanted to bring out the best in people. And I remember that. And I remember him telling me that. In fact, when he passed away, I remember people coming up to me and my sisters and my mom and saying, what an impact my dad had on them and how he helped them, whether he gave money, whether he gave a ride, whether he assisted them with an issue they had that was, community related or personally related. And I remember him passing that, I would say that character down to me, right? Mm-hmm. That was important, that you help people and that you bring out the best in others. And I think that's where it began. That is where it began, because when I finally decided to make this journey, I knew that I was prepared. I knew I had a career that followed in this pathway of being community minded, putting others first, coming up with solutions, having a plan. Growing up, Dad said, if you want to do something, what's the plan? How you going to do it? How you going to sustain it? Where's the funding going to come from? Mm-hmm. Like, I remember that. When we wanted a car, me and my sister wanted cars. And Dad said, well, you got to have money to drive a car. So what you going to do? And so he made us come back with a plan, and we had to write it out. We had to write out our plan. And I've done that with literally almost everything I've ever tried to accomplish. What's the plan? How am I going to do it? Mm-hmm. How am I going to sustain it? Who's going to help you? Where is the relationships going to be to help you get what you need? All of those things you have to take into consideration. Mm-hmm. So that is probably the very original first reason why I'm running for mayor, because I want to continue with that legacy that Dad passed down to me. And I know that I have the skill sets and I have a career that, has proven itself to be prepared for this role. And so I'm ready to do it.
Good. Rose, I'll throw you the same question. Tell us about yourself and why you're running for mayor.
Thank you, Mike. So also a lifelong Dot, born, raised here. First house we lived in is not too far away from here on North 15th Street. Grew up in the shadow of the cathedral, and certainly spent my grade school years there and went to high school at Bishop Ward. For the last 32 years, I think it is now, I have spent my life as an attorney in the private sector, mm-hmm. in the telecommunications industry. In 2019, I dipped my toe into the political fray here in KCK and ran for the BPU board. Mm-hmm. And I ran for that board because I thought it was unique to, the industry I've spent so much time in, which is, broadband, internet, right? Telecommunications, the next utility. I thought I had unique skill set to give back to the BPU board. And so I've spent a term and a half on there now. I did run for reelection in 2022 and won that election. And so I currently sit on the BPU board. And so I've had a unique perspective for the last many years on sort of what our local government looks like, how it's functioning, how it's operating.
Mm-hmm.
And not all of it has been, it's not all been happy times. And so, I actually, in April, went over to a meeting at the UG full commission meeting, just there to support a BPU project, actually, that is going on in the Northeast, and sat there till 10, till 12, midnight, waiting for that.
That's early for the commission meeting.
It is now, right? It is now. And it sort of just watched this all play out in front of me.
Mm-hmm.
And realized that, our we need some help over there, and we need somebody who has spent some time, I think, in the business sector, because I hear from small businesses all the time. I hear from large developers all the time. And I hear from our residents all the time of how difficult it is to get something accomplished through the UG.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I know that folks have been looking at, sort of some efficiency studies, if you will, but I don't know that anything's been done with them. Right? I think they actually conducted one last year. And so, I just bring something along those lines, I think, that we are sorely lacking right now.
Mm-hmm.
And hope to do that. But, the whole idea of, I'm on the back end of my professional career, and I certainly did not need to do this. But because I was born and raised here, one of 9 children, I'm the only one still left here. And my husband and I choose to live here. We certainly don't have to. We choose to. And we choose to for a reason. He's a lifelong dot as well. We care about this place. And we care about not only the next chapter of what's going to go on here, but for generations to come.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that, I was always taught to leave it better than I found it. And so I'm going to, if I'm lucky enough to win this election, I'm going to try to go in there and leave it better than I found it.
Good. So I will go with the first question, Rose, and I'll stick with you. So there are so many issues that Wyandotte County faces ahead of the current election, including overspending, failed infrastructure, overwhelming number of land-based properties, growing homelessness population, and high poverty rates. What is some of the first things you would attack if you were mayor?
And if I can ask a clarifying question really quickly, on the last one you said high property rates or high poverty rates?
Poverty. Sorry.
Okay, good to make sure. Okay, because this is a multi-part question, I might ask you. I'm going to take this in the order that they came.
Mm-hmm.
So when we talk about overspending, right, you generically refer to overspending. Are you speaking about anything specific, or are you sort of speaking of the general tenor of the community that we believe that certain folks in the community believe we're overspending?
Yeah, so pretty much what everyone kind of believes, that we're kind of overspending, because I guess when you look at all the reports and when you look at the UG, you look at the commission meetings, it seems that we don't have any money. And so spending has to be done somewhere that is like something's going on to where we're not having any money to spend money.
Yeah.
So I guess that's what we're kind of talking about.
Okay. And so thank you for the clarification. So when you ask, hey, what are you going to attack first, right? Well, we ought to be able to walk and chew gum at the same time. We ought to be able to do that. And hopefully we can do that. And in order for us to do that, I think we have to attack some of these issues, our most important issues, on parallel tracks, right? We have to be able to do these at the same time. Doesn't mean we're going to solve everything overnight, because you said it, got a lot of problems here. But when we talk about the overspending problem in particular, and I'm going to put that in quotes, because I don't know that it's an overspending problem. I'm not saying there aren't pockets of it somewhere, right? But I've spent a fair amount of time looking at the budget, proposed budget for 2026, fair amount of time looking at the audits that are available, the financial audits that are available. And when I look at just the city general fund in particular, okay, because it's a huge chunk of the budget, $192 million is what's proposed for 2026. So out of that $192 million, roughly $143 million of it is allocated to personnel. 143 million. Okay. And what the city general fund supports is police, fire, public works, municipal court, general services, admin services, capital equipment, and cash funded capital projects. It's a lot of things it supports, right? And police and fire, are a huge chunk of that. Okay. So that's everything across the board. 143 million of 192 million. There's an additional almost $23 million that are listed as, quote, contract services. I have to believe that those are also personnel related, right? So those are consultants. Those are contract employees, which exist. You know how much money that leaves left over just to the city general fund? For all those items, $26 million.
$26 million.
$26 million. So when we talk about overspending, are we overspending on police, UG employees? I don't know, right? We generically say that, but when I talk to, Chief Oakman and KCK PD, and, the number one issue that I'm sure Christal would agree that we hear all the time is high property taxes. Sure. That's the number one issue. The second issue I hear all the time is, what are we going to do about blight and all this illegal dumping, right? Well, they don't have enough resources to surveil and address the issues of illegal dumping. That's what KCK PD tells me. So if they're under-resourced and can't focus on those issues, which is the number two issue that I hear from residents and businesses here, are we overspending on police? Because I know they need more folks, right? Fire. What we're doing right now is we are not compliant with national standards on how we are deploying our fire folks into the field. We're sending 3 instead of 4. And we're doing that because we don't have enough resource to do that, right? We have open positions at the unified government today. We have a hiring freeze in place today. I'm not saying there aren't pockets of, hey, we're overspending in maybe this category or that category, this area, that area. But when I look at the numbers, it would seem that if we're overspending, at least in the city general fund, and I would imagine the county general fund is going to be the same way, we're overspending on people. So is the vocal minority in this community asking us to lay people off?
And I'm glad you clarified that, because I think a lot of people don't truly know what the money's being spent on.
Agreed.
Yeah.
But look, the budget's out there, and I know that I believe actually they're having a meeting tonight. It's Monday. Yep, they're having another one tonight. I think it's their 19th meeting on the budget this year. And I feel bad. I mean, look, it's difficult to go through a budget, as we all know, it's difficult, and you want to go line item by line item, right? But I think it's important for our taxpayers to know where our tax dollars are going.
Sure.
I truly do. And, one of the things I've suggested, to that effect is, let's do real-time dashboards that we share with the public. I think some departments inside the UG are a little bit more progressive than others, and they actually utilize those on a daily basis. But I don't think all departments are that way yet, right? So got a lot of fixing to do there, but right. So that's the overspending issue. That's how we'll address that. Gotcha. Okay. Land bank, I think, was another one.
Everyone, if you don't want to.
Oh, I'll hit them all. Are you kidding me? I know I'm not supposed to go for 90 minutes on each one, but the land bank issue, right? So speaking to somebody over the weekend who deals with the land bank all the time, and that individual who is in real estate here in Wyandotte County told me that there is one person to deal with in the land bank office. One. And so you've got one person to deal with in the land bank office. You've got 40, almost 300 properties in the land bank that are yielding us nothing today in this community. Nothing. No tax dollars, no nothing, right? And I know Commissioner Davis has spent a good amount of time, trying to, I think, turn that around. I don't think it's happened as quickly as he would like. Certainly not the rest of us would like either. But when we think about that, I think we need to think a little bit past the single family homes. That's the only thing that's ever going to bring us out of our housing shortage and our affordable housing shortage. That's not the only thing that's going to bring us out of that, right? We have to think outside the box a little bit. I think we've got folks coming with multiplex developments and things like that. And we have to, I think it's okay for us to say to ourselves at this point in time, is Wyandotte Countyans, we deserve, not only can we have better things, nice things, we deserve better things. This is happening in every other community around us. So we need to be a little bit more, I think, open-minded as to what we do with those properties. And we need to the extent there are restrictions on what we can do with those properties today, I think we need to lift those restrictions, perhaps revisit those policies around that and modernize them, right? This hasn't been around that long, but at the same time, I feel like we've outdated, they're outdated at this point.
Yeah.
For what I think our community probably needs. Unhoused population, another item you touched on. I appreciate the fact that a task force was set up 3 to 4 years ago on this issue, because this issue remains today. And it's a tough one. We're not the only city in America dealing with this right now. But as, Christal loves to say, and I will always give credit where it's due. I mean, she's like, I don't want task forces because we don't need another task force. She calls them implementation, teams. And that's what they should be, right? Because I've not seen anything tangible come out of that particular task force. The business community is participating in it. If we don't go out and get private sector partners today and either expand what we have today with Hillcrest and others, right, that provide wraparound services and things like that, or go get a new facility and also provide wraparound services, then we're not getting at the heart of the problem. And these are things we have to do. Should have done them yesterday. Don't know where the private partnership is, but the business community here has just as much interest as the city does in addressing our unhoused population, right? To hopefully, so these folks become successful. And last, I think you touched on the poverty level, right? Some of it, I don't know what we're going to do about, because we have an elderly aging population, and these folks are 65 and above on fixed incomes, right? Their incomes are not going to increase exponentially. I think the best thing we can do for them is try to figure out ways. We have assistance programs through the state, the UG, and the BPU currently. We need to promote those more, better. We need to get to a point where our folks who are in that vulnerable population are not, they're not struggling as much as they are now, right? There's a property tax element to that as well. Folks who've been in their homes for years and years and years. Can we freeze them? I don't know. We should try. Can we eliminate them? I don't know, but we should try. But without a whole bunch of more development and expanding our tax base exponentially in our community, we're not going to have any shot at any of those things, right? So, and the other part of, our population that, is at or below the poverty level, we have workforce development initiatives in a lot of different places. I think we need to centralize that a little bit more. We have so many jobs that are available right now. And if you look at the data from Wyandotte EDC, they'll sit there and tell you, I've got 5,612 jobs open today. And they also have employers here that some of these require, their skilled labor. We've got folks that are willing to train, right? We need to work more with, some of our unions, right? Some of our regional unions that are doing pathways, into the skilled trades. We need to lean more on KCK for those kinds of things too. Jobs are available. We need to get more skilled people married up with those jobs. Sorry, I'm done. I think that was the last topic.
So, Christal, do you want me to repeat the question?
No, I don't need you to. I think that part of the question is just what are some of the things that I would do? Would be my first plan of attack, I guess.
Yeah.
And so thank you, Rose. She alluded to the implementation teams. That is one of the first things I would do. So within my platform, I have 4 areas that we'll focus on: infrastructure, housing, workforce, and of course, business. and community. And within community is crime, education, transportation. So those implementation teams will be selected. We'll probably even do a call out for those who would want to participate. And I want people that are subject matter experts in each of those areas so that we can, first of all, assess the data. What does the data tell us about each one of those areas? So, for instance, our field infrastructure, what does our data tell us? And then we'll follow this plan for the team to look at those, look at that data, and determine what is the next course of action to actually implement the solution. We need to get to the solution. And she jokes about this, Rose, because when I made this comment, and it wasn't, to put down the task force, because task force are important, but we've had so many of them that,
Task force for everything,
we
it sounds
don't
like.
need another one. I need one like I need a hole in my head,
Yeah.
right? We need solutions. We need to implement the task force data or the task force plans. And that is the first thing I will attack. We will identify who those teams are. We'll find the people within the community, and it won't be the same old folk. We need some fresh ideas and new ideas on how to address some of these issues. We've got very talented people within our community that have great ideas, that have access to resources, or, have great connects that could be part of how we address these issues. And I want those folks at the table, not your ordinary, everyday leaders. We need a fresh perspective on how to address each of these issues. And then from there, they'll begin to attack them. So how will we do that? We'll develop a plan for each one of them. It started with me wanting to do a dashboard. I called it a Wyandotte Recovery Dashboard, because my whole platform is reset, renew, and rebuild. And I want to be 100% transparent with the community on what we are working with. And so the second most important thing I'll do is with those implementation teams, as we gather those folks, we'll find them within doing some town halls. And I'll do quarterly town halls, but we'll immediately go out to each of the areas, the neighborhood groups, and identify people that can help us come to those solutions. We have to do this together. The mayor can't do it by himself or herself. In this case, it's going to be a her. The county administrator can't do it by themselves, the staff, or the commissioners. We have to work collectively and collaboratively to find the solutions we need to address all those issues that you described for us. And in order to do that, we've got to have a solid plan, and it has to be a plan that implements. So as mayor, my role would be to champion what those things are, find the funding. And so immediately begin to fund. Rose and I have talked about this. I know I mentioned it from early on. We've got to have a grant writer. Let's get a grant writer on board so that grant writer can look at, because from those implementation teams, they're going to take this to the grant writer. And all right, let's sit down and identify the type of grants we can go after, whether it's through private foundations or philanthropy, or whether it's through state and federal funding. But the money is out there. There are billions of dollars available to us. We just need to be more intentional about going after it. So that's one of the biggest things that I'll start out doing to address these issues.
Okay, so in sticking with you, and then kind of going on the same line on the lines of that question. So the previous mayor, through a soft audit, found several alarming and concerning discrepancies in the spending of the unified government.
Yes.
Would you bring and support a resolution that brings a third-party auditing firm into the unified government's financials and release its findings?
So I think that's really already been done. A soft audit was done. It was presented to the commissions. And I believe the commission board had an opportunity to review that information. I don't know what the final outcome has been from that.
Yeah.
We haven't really known if they're taking those discrepancies that they were able to identify and actually working them. So to answer your question, I don't think we need to have another soft audit. I think we need to take what we've been given and figure out how we're going to address those discrepancies. I do believe that we need to continue to be transparent with the community about what was not said in that report that could have been said, or we need to be very upfront with the community about what is going to take in order for us to address some of the concerns, even when it comes to overspending, even when it comes to how the spending is done, and more importantly, address it line by line. There is a process in this, I think, that we need to make sure that is done, that I would like to be able to do, and that will be done in those quarterly town halls, is educating our community at the same time. I think that we think it's really cut and dry on how a budget is done, and particularly a municipality budget. It's not that simple sometimes. And having sat on a board for Kansas Public Schools and providing oversight to a multi-million-dollar budget, it's not that easy. And so I think part of my responsibility as mayor will be to help educate our community at the same time that we share this and we are transparent, and then working with the staff to figure out how we overcome the challenges that we've been faced. To Rose's point, it is not going to happen overnight. We've had some decisions that have been made over 20, 30 years that has us in the position we are in now. And so it's not going to be done overnight. But as we communicate along the way, I think our community will feel better that we have leadership that is trying to be transparent, that is showing that information and helping to educate them as we go through that process. So basically, yes, I do believe in having a third party. I would also ensure that the commission board was on page with wanting that done, because we need to work collaboratively in order to do that. And the one thing we don't want is for me to want one thing and they want something different. Those kind of decisions need to be made in private to ensure that we are unified and moving forward in whatever decision that is.
Good. Rose?
Yeah, couldn't agree more. And actually, I pulled up because one of the parts of the question was, would you release that publicly, right? Well, we have public audits out there of the UG financials from 2016 to 2023. Now, the 2024 audit has not been completed yet, which it is mid-September.
That's why I said we don't know the outcome.
It is mid-September, and that is highly irregular for an audit not to have been completed yet. But if you go through the audit findings in previous years, you will see repeat offenses. You will see things that, and I know that I think the commission has responded to some of what has come out of the audit, because we have a variety of grants out there today, but we seem challenged to comply with those grants. And again, repeat offenses year after year. So now we have somebody that does that, but we don't have people who write grants. So it's very odd, but okay. But yeah, I mean, look, we audit these financials regularly. This information is out there publicly. But to Christal's point, it is incumbent upon us, unified with the commissioners, to present this information publicly in an understandable format. And, I joked a little bit earlier about, this being the 19th budget session. I mean, it probably is double digits at this point. I mean, it may not be 19, but it's a lot.
I thought it was true, so
it
wouldn't surprise me.
I've sat through my fair share of them live, remotely, and I'm sure you have as well. And I don't. Not everybody is adept at providing complex information in an understandable format. And so I don't fault anybody on staff who's been put in this position to come up there and do this, in front of the commissioners. I think it's important work, don't get me wrong. But I think that you've got to have pretty strong leadership that identifies who should be the person presenting this information, because that's not equal for everybody, right? And I have spent a professional lifetime breaking down complex issues in understandable formats for regulators and legislators and all kinds of folks. So I know what that skill set looks like. And unfortunately, we just don't have it in the budget area right now. And budgets are difficult to understand if you don't have a background in a budget, certainly a budget of this size. And I don't know that every single commissioner today has that background. And so they're asking very valid questions at this point. Sometimes there's not easy answers to those, right?
Yeah.
So would I support that? Of course I'd support it, but it's something that's already being done. And I think folks just aren't aware that that information is out there, publicly available at all times.
Yeah. Okay. So my next question, we were going to talk about the budget, but I think we've talked enough about it. I think we kind of, I don't want to keep hammering that. So Rose, from the outside looking in, the commission board seems to have a clear divide. What will you do to help bring back a better working relationship on the commission board?
Yeah, I think that, look, the first element of this has to be, respect. And, I've learned over the years that if I give respect to others, I generally get respect in return. And so, look, what I'd like to do, I have relationships with every commissioner that will still be a commissioner on November 5th. And good relationships, good working relationships. And I have good relationships with most of the candidates that are up for the other commissioner positions today. Those are critical to this, right? Hearing them, listening to what their priorities are on behalf of their constituents. That's going to be really important for me. And that's one of the first things I would do, is find some time on their calendars to sit down, talk about some things one-on-one, understand what the priorities are, find where the common ground is, right? And then collaboratively, as an entire board, mayor plus commissioners, let's go figure out how best to implement, right, these priorities and do it as quickly as we can, but do it in a unified manner. This stuff it's not rocket science. Because I know if I've gone into a situation, I think it's been a long, long time ago since this has happened, because, when you're professional for so long, this is just how you operate on a daily basis. But, I'm sure I've walked into things a long time ago in my life and I'm not having respect for somebody on the other side. And that's ridiculous, right? I have no reason to not have respect for them. But I think that's where it starts. Foundational relationships are so important, and they're the lifeblood of how we get this commission unified, back on track, everybody rowing in the same direction for, the next generation of Wyandotte County.
Yeah. Christal?
Well, I definitely have relationships with the current commission board. I also have great relationships with those who may end up becoming a new commissioner. So I'm very solid with those relationships, having good working relationships with those folks. I think there's one commissioner I don't have a working relationship with, but I know them, I know their family, and so that's a huge plus, and that's a basis for us to build a solid relationship from it. I think the most important thing about the relationships that a current commission board have, and I want to be very crystal clear about this. Every last one of the commissioners have a heart, a commitment, and a dedication to Wyandotte County, to particularly their districts. And I think that it's not so much as it is a divide, as it is as there is passion and a determination to see their priorities move forward. And I believe a lot of miscommunication has occurred. And as mayor, it is important that the mayor bring the commissioners together. And so that would be my number one priority is how do we bring each other, all on the same page so that we can work collaboratively together. My plan is to do that day one. I've already begun to have conversations with some of the commissioners, not all of them. Everybody's busy and we are in the middle of a campaign, so it makes it kind of hard. But they know that my heart is there and they know what my true intention is. And I've tried to make that crystal clear from day one. I also will take specific time in the first 100 days to do that, because what we don't want is to continue to show that division. And that will be the real true test of the mayor, is having the skill set to help those commissioners see eye to eye and agree to disagree without there being public discord. So it's all in how the meeting is run. So there'll be some great intention on my part to, when we are in disagreement, because we're not always going to be in agreement.
Yeah.
But when we are in disagreement, we find a civil way of doing that to show our community that we can agree to disagree.
Yeah.
Right? And come to a common ground. Again, we have to be intentional. And as the mayor, that is number one. So I will be intentional about meeting with them weekly in my first 90 days, actually, and identifying where I can support them the most. There's a lot of work to do, but again, taking time to understand where they are, where their need is. As mayor, my role will be to champion, to be there to support them. And I'll identify immediately what low-hanging fruit I can work with them on, because I want to show good faith that I can be trusted and that I'm going to make sure that I communicate with them as well. And so that will be one of the other things that I will do is I want to provide the commissioners with a monthly update, not a report, but just a monthly update on who we're having conversations with, what projects that we're working on, what the status is of the implementation teams. I don't ever want the commissioners, not one of them, to be surprised about anything we're working on. And so I think that is a way of how I can show support and how I can show my good faith as mayor that I respect them and that I honor their position and want them to be informed and be communicated to as much as possible. That's how I'll do it.
Good. I like the crystal clear. Crystals
I knew
being
that was
crystal
coming.
clear.
Hashtag crystal clear.
Yeah.
Crystal clear.
So my next question, and we'll stick with you, Christal. How do you feel about talks of deconsolidation of the unified government and the lack of resources being spread out to both Bonner Springs and Edwardsville?
So I will say honestly that I'm not, because I think there's been a lot of conversation about it, and I'm not really sure are they really trying to deconsolidate or not.
Yeah.
I
know it always comes up every once in a while.
It comes up once in a while, and you had the mayor of Edwardsville had made some comments, and our own Mayor Tyrone Garner, was part of those conversations and wanted to support. I don't think that there really is a need to do it, because if you look at why the consolidation happened in the first place, one of the primary reasons why they did was for financial reasons, right? So that Edwardsville and Bonner did receive the services they need because there would be more funding available to do that. And so if that part isn't broken per se, then I think the rest of it, I really need to get in there and better understand. I don't want to base it on rumors. And there's a lot of rumors out there. And so without really having had a conversation with either mayor, I think it would be unfair to me to answer that question, but I can say that I want to hear their concerns. I want to be able to address what those concerns are, because unified government does have a responsibility to meet the needs of Edwardsville and Bonner. And so we need to honor that. I also think that we also need to look at the CEO role and make sure that the CEO role has, I won't say power, but what I will say is that based on the job description of what the CEO role is, which is very, very vague, we probably need to look at that if we wanted to change anything. And we need to work with those mayors to ensure that it's fair and equitable for them as well. But I mean, there was a reason why we set up a CEO. There's a reason why we did the consolidation. I do believe that it works, and I do believe it has been beneficial. But I also believe that there's been some tension. There's been some issues. And I do believe that Edwardsville and Bonner has felt left out. And that's the last thing I want for them to do.
Yeah.
So I just want to get in there and better understand what's really going on, assess the situation, evaluate it appropriately, and work with them collaboratively so that we feel unified in everything that we do as a county.
Rose?
Mike. Yeah. So, one of the things I think, one of the things I would do is I would absolutely have a priority on a quarterly basis at a minimum to meet with Mayor Cahar and Mayor Stevens from both of those districts, because I want to make sure that we understand if they're feeling slighted in any way from services, financially, whatever it is, we want to fully understand that, right? We want to ensure that we're all operating from the same set of facts, same data points, and make sure that we're all on the same page. Just as we're going to do with the commissioners themselves, right? We want to make sure that we're lockstep with Bonner and Edwardsville too. I mean, look, Wyandotte County doesn't work without all of us. It just doesn't. And, when I, talk about wanting to bring development opportunities to every corner of this community, that includes them too. And I've had a few discussions with Mayor Cahar about some of that. And, I do spend a small amount of city tax dollars at the Quick Trip in Bonner Springs literally every single day of my life. And so you're welcome to Bonner for that.
I'm at Walmart.
But but it's, we're all one. As Christal said, and I think it's important to have those ongoing discussions because the collaboration is really important as well. And I don't want those communities to feel like they're somehow disenfranchised from Wyandotte County. We unified for a reason. Happy to talk about a deconsolidation if it makes sense for the community as a whole. I don't know that it does at this particular juncture, but I'd have those conversations all day long if that's what those two communities wanted to talk about in earnest.
Okay. And so we talked about Bonner and Edwardsville a little bit. So now I'm going to talk about, downtown KCK. And so Rose's questions to you. So how do we bring downtown KCK in the northeast part of KCK back to life?
Yeah. So part of this is, look, I could say the word development 3,000 times during this discussion, right? And I think we, Christal and I agree on this point that we have to bring development to different parts of this community. I know that there's portions of our community that feel as though we only develop out west. And I understand that because when you look around this community as a whole, that's where the development's going, the majority of it. We have opportunities in front of us for some things in the Northeast. I'm hearing some good things about some development and redevelopment and repurposing of some facilities downtown.
Yeah.
Right. And all of those things, it's going to take all of this. But it gets back to sort of the mantra that I have, right? It's like, we sort of have to change our mindset here. And we have to change our mindset to believe that not only can we have nice things, we deserve them. We deserve a downtown that is as revitalized as any other downtown on the eastern side of a city anywhere in the country, right? We've watched this happen in community after community. But we have a lot of folks that still complain about the legends and about all the development out west. We all know that it's the number one visitor attraction in the state of Kansas. We all know the revenue that brings into this community. Whether we believe it or not, it really does do that thing, right, that it was supposed to do. And it took a visionary mayor and commissioners years ago to come up with that.
It was a
she.
It was okay.
It was a she. Yeah, no, it took a visionary, it took Mayor Marinovich and folks who had the fortitude at that point in time to see that. And, if we didn't have that here right now, I'm not sure we're sitting here right now, to be honest with you. And we have to have that same fortitude to go do these things that seem bold right now, but are doable in the Northeast, right? Out south of town, out in Bonner, right? We have to have the fortitude to do these things. We have to have the guts to do them. We have to have the vision to do them, which I think we have. We've got people that are knocking on our doors right now wanting to do some things. They find it difficult to do business here. I think it's incumbent upon, me as mayor to ensure that the county administrator is lifting the red tape that we have, lifting the bureaucratic red tape. Because, Mike, and I've said this many times about your particular business, right? The vibe in this is such a unique business in downtown KCK. And I hope everybody comes to the shop because it's an experience. And there are places like that around downtown. We can have our own flair. We don't have to put one light and two light up. We don't have to do that. Love to, don't have to. I guess it'd be 4 light, 6 light or whatever we're at now. I don't know what number we're on, but we're on something light. Right? I mean, we don't have to be that though. We can be our own unique KCK, keep the culture that we have here, particularly in our downtown area, in our Northeast area, because we've got a variety of cultures that all blend together when we come together in these areas. We have the opportunity in front of us. We have to have somebody with the guts to do it and stick to it. That includes commissioners at this point in time, right? It includes all of us. I think we can. I don't even know what the question was, but I got so excited there for a second.
Bringing development back down here and in the northeast part of KCK. So downtown and northeast.
Look, we all know that there is one specific project that is sitting out there right now in the Northeast at the old Quintero power plant. It is to be, what we believe it to be repurposed as is a data center.
Yeah.
And we're getting as much pushback. You guys may not hear as much as I do. As much pushback on that as the one you hear of the $12 billion project out west from folks concerned for a variety of reasons. What something like that can do for the northeast part of our city, I think it's something we've never seen before. Not in my adult lifetime, certainly. And that can catapult and, be the catalyst for all the other development that goes on there. The Quindaro ruins. I mean, there's so many. I sit on a task force.
It's a good thing.
So they're trying to put a data center where the Quindaro ruins are?
No.
Oh, the power plant. Is that what you said?
The power plant.
Okay, I was like, whoa, hold up. All right.
No, but I sit on a task force, and the task force name is Economic Redevelopment for everything east of 635. So we don't have like a real narrow scope, which is cool. But we've talked a lot about the Quindaro ruins and sort of where that's at in the process, with the state declaring it, a historical monument and all of that. That's all out there as well, right? It's going to take a couple of these things to work, but people are willing to invest money and take chances on these things. We need to let them in order for that quadrant to be built up. Well, I'm not going to go any further, but I will say that I've at least talked to, I've at least talked to someone who has indicated there is potential for an entertainment district.
Yeah.
Much like we see out west in the Northeast. And if anything's going to build you housing bring you housing faster, it'll be right. If we have those things there, it will necessitate the need for housing surrounding it. So,
okay.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, you're good.
Well, to answer the question directly, there are master plans for downtown and Northeast. One, if not both, are at least 7 years old.
Jeez.
Now, I think that there would be some modifications that need to be made, but we need to pull those back out. So you want to talk about what are we going to do to bring it to life? Let's pull out all the plans, right? Let's look at those plans, and then let's figure out what kind of funding is needed to get those plans moving. We've, again, had plans, had task force, and there's no plan to develop it. So we've got great recommendations. You had a complete community engagement for Northeast. And that was not the first time for the plan that they did almost 7 years ago. So what I would like to do is pull those plans out. Let's look at where we don't need to change, but then make some modifications for where we can. And that is a very beginning of what we can do. The second thing we need to do is find the funding. Where's the funding going to come from so that these plans can be developed? That means we need to find the investors, right? We need to find the developers that are willing to come in and fulfill what the community has said they want to see, both in the downtown area and in the Northeast area. We need to build partnerships. And I think that the other thing that we need to do is we need to create programs. And there are programs that are already out there that we don't have to recreate the wheel. But I really want to see our small business, more programs for our small businesses to help expand or build capacity for the ones that are here. So all of the businesses, like from Chicago all the way up to the shop, for example, or the ice cream treat place, which I love going in there.
Hey, Sugar.
Yeah, Hey Sugar. Big shout out to them. To Strawberry Hill Brewing or Split Log, and then you go on down Fish Street and you've got John's Java and Jazz, where you've got property there that we could build out. If the plan is to do entertainment, I know that might be a small piece of it, but our community has already voiced what they want to see in these areas. And so I personally have had conversations with developers who are ready right now, cannot wait to get started on projects. We don't have to attract. They've been sitting, waiting in the wing. They've just been waiting for the right leadership to step up, and they're waiting for some policy changes and processes to be defined and outlined so that they know what they're doing, know what they're dealing with when they do business. For me, I'm putting we're open for business immediately. And we would have already looked into the policy changes, and we need to communicate what that is and showcase and highlight it in a manner that says, hey, this is why we're open for business, and this is why you want to come and do business more in Wyandotte County. We don't do a very good job. Let me say this. We have marketed Wyandotte County. We need to continue to market it like it's on steroids, right? And showcase the greatest assets that we have within Wyandotte County, because that is how we're going to attract. And then you need a mayor that is willing to step out there and be the biggest cheerleader they possibly can, right? While they're working with the county administrator, working with the staff, and number one, working with the commissioners in those districts. So the mayor and that commissioner are going to have to be on the same page. And then the commissioners or the mayor should also help spread that good wealth, right, to the other commissioners. Because again, everything goes through, the commissioners for final vote for whatever we do. So that's why those relationships have to be on point. Because a commissioner can want something in their district all day long, but if the rest of them aren't on board, you won't see it happen. So those are the things that I would do to help market us, showcase what our greatest assets are, share with the community some ideas that have already come to the table. But first of all, looking at the master plans we've already created.
Yeah.
Right. And identifying what we can pull from it. We do not have to reinvent the wheel, and we do not need to spend another ungodly amount on another third party to come in and do a focus group on what we want in our community.
Yeah. And then that kind of goes along with my next question, which I'll let you kind of finish it up, and then I'll have you, Rose, get it, is like you kind of talked about it, is how do you bring development? Like, how do you plan to attract development to KCK? You kind of answered that,
Yeah.
How do you bring it back? And then, because the more development you bring here, the kind of, the lower the tax is, the more incentive it is for people to spend money here.
Right. So part of the plan for me is look at infrastructure. We have to look at that first. We don't want to pass, a lot of that cost down, particularly to small businesses, because we have a number of small businesses that want to come to Wyandotte County or want their businesses to be able to grow in Wyandotte County, but they may lack capital to do that. That's why those programs are very important for those small businesses. But we want to look at the infrastructure, which means we've got to have some partnerships to be able to do that. And there are some public agencies that we can partner with to find the revenue to do that, or to find the funding to do it. That's going to be critical. And then, of course, marketing it. But you've got to have certain things in line first before you can market. Like, marketing is the very last thing we do, because we've got to have all those other things in line first, so that we've got a clear pathway for new business to be able to do business in Wyandotte County and KCK. And I want to make another note that I know that Northeast and, downtown is important, because both of those have key corridors that we need to focus on. But there are other corridors within the city that if we look at as well, and that's a part of marketing it, right? So, Rose talked about, chewing gum and walking at the same time. We have to look at how we can support the other corridors, because they all intertwine with, when you first come into downtown KCK, but then this other historic area, which is the Northeast area, that we need to continue to develop, not only with business, but with housing as well. So, and you also have Edwardsville and Bonner. I've driven through Edwardsville and Bonner, and the downtown areas in both of those, I just love. And if we could just really replicate some of what they've done in our own downtown KCK, I think we would really be bumping.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
So we don't have to go far to find the source. The source we already have. We have everything we need right here. We just need the right stakeholders at the table and be willing to put together the plan and identify the funding and partnerships and collaboration to do it.
Yep. Rose?
And if I may, Mike, I want to touch on something that was actually from the previous question that Christal touched on about taking out, sort of the master plans, right, for each of these districts. On the task force I sit on,
it's a good thing.
But I mean, we literally have taken that. The problem with the task force, which is why I can't wait to move, whether it's you or me in there, I can't wait to move to your implementation teams. And if it's me, I'll give you full credit for them. Don't worry.
Okay.
But we've got members of the business community that sit there, and we don't accomplish anything during those task force meetings. And honestly, it leaves those of us who go to meetings all day, every day, like, what did we just spend our time doing? Because we didn't move the ball forward that day.
Yeah.
Right. And so, but we're integrating the plans. They're out, they're dusted off, they're ready to go. So we are actually, someone's consulting them, which is good. To your point, we don't need to reinvent that wheel.
No.
For sure.
If I were on that team, I would have come to the table and provided a scope of how they can begin to implement. Because when you have that kind of talent at the table, particularly from the business community, you don't want to waste their time.
That's right.
Because after a while, you'll begin to lose them.
That's right.
And they'll lose interest and be like, they don't know what the heck they're doing. Right?
Right.
probably have a little bit of that happening right now.
Yeah,
but
it might be. Yep. I mean, and again, it's not. It's just a product of what these have become, right? We're not accomplishing anything with them, but we have the ability to. But we're there strictly in an advisory capacity, and frankly, haven't advised on anything to date.
Wow.
And I've been on this since last year.
Yeah.
So it's unfortunate because business people are used to just getting things done, right? Which is to the point of wanting to open up and ensuring people know that we're open to do business here in Wyandotte County, right? I helped a gentleman last year who he's a home developer, but multi-tenant dwellings plus single-family homes, all the things. And he's focused, I believe, at that time in the Rosedale area. And he only came to me because he knew a family member of mine and said, "Hey, can she do anything about this permit at the UG?" Like, I've been waiting on a permit for, at that time, 6 months.
Jeez.
We can't do business like that here.
No.
And so, and Christal's touched on it, and, we got to make it, the processes have to change. They have to be more efficient. We have to be more efficient because we have to be responsive to the needs of the business community that wants to put down roots here, that wants to grow here, and wants to help expand our tax base here. We have to do those things, right? And that's part of that's not the fun part of anything. But at the end of the day, the fact that, we've gone and we've had this consultant come in last year and sort of try to identify maybe where inefficiencies exist within the UG, whether intra-department or interdepartmental inefficiencies and or overlaps, in some areas. What have we done about that?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. And I'm not saying nothing's been done. Maybe we just don't see it. But back to the point of how we're communicating information to our constituency is really, really important.
Yeah.
Right? It's not just how do we communicate with the business community. It's how we're communicating some of these projects to our own constituency and explaining why. Christal calls it being a cheerleader, and okay, call it. I'm not a cheerleader, but nor ever would be. I mean, I'm just not the cheerleader type. Sorry. I know Christal is, but I'm not. But but actually explaining why it would be so beneficial for this particular project in this area and partnering with those that want to bring these projects to speak to our community about why this is so good for our community, right? Because long-term growth is dependent upon it. And we have to get our folks on board with what it is that hopefully our joint unified commission, and administration is willing to go out on a limb for and maybe make some sacrifices for to get to this community.
Yeah.
So I don't know that I even answered the question, but.
No,
Well, I think we're having a conversation, but I think the other thing about this is we don't want to waste people's time.
That's right.
Yeah.
We don't have any more time,
No.
right? If we don't start implementing these plans and finding the resources we need to develop our community, and I mean from the Legends to Northeast to Argentine, right, to Turner, to Edwardsville to Bonner, if we don't find the funding to do this, we are going to be left behind. And I'll say why. Because we have so much potential. We're in the middle of the USA here. We're becoming a Midwest tourist attraction. We need to leverage that, be smart, intentional, and get the job done. So as a leader, we don't waste any more time, and we need to make tough decisions. And as a leader, you don't get to be in a nonprofit without making tough decisions, without making sacrifices, without hurting people you wish you wouldn't have to hurt, right? But at the end of the day, for me as a nonprofit leader, because I currently do that every day full time, I don't have that luxury to waste time. I don't have the luxury of, allowing a group to meet over a year and they're still trying to find their way. So for me as a leader, it is important that And I don't know if this happens within UG or not, but we don't hold people accountable to report back and to say, okay, when are you going to do it? When is the deadline? And who's going to get it done? Right? And I think that needs to happen more. And that's a conversation that needs to happen really at the county administrator's level, because as the mayor, you know, Rosa or I wouldn't be able to do that, but the county administrator does. And so we really need to look at and make some hardcore decisions about how we're going about ensuring that people are held accountable for the work that they do and making the tough decisions we need to make. I mean, Rose said something earlier, you know, when you look at a budget and more than half of it is made up of personnel, what do you do?
Yeah.
But if we're going to keep folks, then let's make sure we're doing the right thing. Let's make sure we're providing them every tool they need to be successful. That team needs the right tools to be successful. And that's our role. That's my role, I see as a leader.
Yeah. And then, so speaking of development, and I'll ask you this, Rose, and we'll go to you, Christal. You know, we talked about development down here and how do we bring, you know, businesses down here, whatever. But one of our main gripes from the business owners down on Strawberry Hill and in downtown KCK is that we have major bridge closures happening right now that are affecting business. And then when we go to, you know, talk to people about, you know, hey, what can we do? Like, hey, we don't have any money. And so we're just like, so it's just going to be closed forever. So I guess my question is, like, how do you handle the bridge closures that are affecting our downtown businesses?
Yeah. So great question.
Sorry. Yeah. I'm a little like heated on that question.
Well,
We're
I mean, you
talking
should be heated
downtown,
about that question, though, because really, I mean, anytime any one of us meets with somebody, you know, from Kansas City, Missouri, and we're asking them to meet us down here, that's a problem, right? So that's just a little microcosm of the problem. That's not you guys as business owners losing out on dollars because they can't get here, right? I don't know how, as a unified government, we could not have known in advance of all bridges that would have been closed simultaneously at this time. I know some of it is UG's responsibility. Some of it is KDOT's responsibility. How are we not having those conversations? Either directly between the UG and KDOT, or between our Wyandotte County delegation at the state and KDOT on behalf of our business community down here. Long before this happened. How are we not? As I understand it, the Central Avenue Bridge is going to take $100 million to fix it. $100 million, right? I think we could find all the grant writers we wanted, and I'm not sure we're going to find $100 million to fix that bridge. Doesn't mean we shouldn't try, by the way. But, you know, when we look at our infrastructure needs, if we don't prioritize it now, if we don't prioritize our infrastructure all over, and I don't know how we fell into, we've kicked the can down the road for so long. We have $100 million repairs on a major artery into and out of our city. Right? I don't know of any grants that the unified government applied for the Bipartisan Infrastructure Act. That is no more. But the money is still there for those that applied. I don't know that we applied for those. I haven't seen any evidence that we have. How could we miss that opportunity knowing we've got this bridge that potentially is in this state of disrepair?
Yeah.
And again, I think it's crazy that Turner Diagonal has been out for as long as it's been out. You know, the viaduct's out for as long as it's insanity.
Yeah.
And so is there an easy fix for that? No, there's not, Mike. But we have to be better and more forward thinking and more proactive on how we deal with our infrastructure issues than trying to put a Band-Aid on it after the fact. We just can't do that anymore. And again, if you look at where our cash funded capital expenditures go, it's in that city general fund budget. And we only had $26 million left.
Yeah.
That's far short of $100 million, and we've got all those other things to fund. It's not an easy answer.
No, it's not. I know it's not.
But how did we get into a state to allow this to all occur at the same time? Communication is key. Internally, externally, was somebody, I don't know, in public works afraid to tell somebody else because of the culture that's inside the UG right now, because they're going to get in trouble because there's $100 million in repairs that nobody ever wanted to tell anybody about? I don't know. But that can't happen anymore. I mean, you have to see the impact of your daily job on something like that.
Yeah.
You have to, right? Does that mean that those individuals should they be held accountable for that? What good does that do? It's not going to fix the bridge.
Mm-hmm.
Do we need to do better in all those regards? Of course we do. But in our case, I think it starts with the leadership at the top.
Mm-hmm.
Who are we having conversations with? How did we not know and weren't prepared for this? So we could perhaps get an agreement with KDOT. Hey, can you put this one, can you reprioritize this one till a little bit later, right? So we can so we don't have all arteries closed at the same time.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if something magical is going to happen between now and the World Cup.
That's my next question.
But if it were going to happen, I would suspect it would happen between now and the World Cup.
Yeah. Christal?
Well, it's not going to happen between now and the World Cup. But I will say this. I've thought about this greatly. I've talked to some businesses who have been impacted by the closed bridges.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to do something. This is an opportunity where the public agencies that are out there that have economic development dollars, I know that UG has not pursued them as often as they could have. And I know that there are some projects that the community is working on right now. And it's a good thing that will address some of the infrastructure needs. We need to do more of that. And I've already begun to have some conversations about what that could look like so that coming out in the first year, we're addressing at least one of those bridges. That is like probably one of the priorities on my list because I don't want the small business to be impacted.
Yeah.
It is by the grace of God that some of the businesses right off of the Central Bridge are still open today, even beyond COVID.
Yeah.
And so I am so thankful to God that they're still open, but they still need help, right? Mm-hmm. And so for that bridge to still be closed is unacceptable. And we need to take responsibility for that. So partnering with some of our public agencies that have some economic development dollars that can help us with that infrastructure is going to be key. In addition to looking for the federal funding that can be available at a federal level or at a state level. Mm-hmm. Because we are in such a good place and because we are considered to be, the Midwest tourist attraction, making money for the state, I'm going to try to leverage that as much as possible.
Yeah.
Come on, Governor. Come on, Department of Commerce. Come on, KDOT. Let's sit down and have some serious conversations because you're cutting off the supply, right? And this is where those skill sets are going to be needed to leverage who we are as a community, who we are as a city, and what value we bring to the state. Mm-hmm. We bring a lot of value. And it's time for us to start sticking out our chests, right? And showing the region who we are as a city. That's what I would do as mayor to address the bridges. And I would also include those business owners to be at the table because we need their input to fully understand what's needed. And if we can, what's the pie in the sky? What's your dream, right?
Yeah.
And try to get as close to that as we possibly can. because they need to be part of that process, because then that holds them accountable as well. We all have accountability part in how we address particularly the infrastructure when it comes to bridges.
Yeah. And so sticking with you, and you talked about World Cup, like I know with all the bridge problems and everything, but World Cup is next year.
Yep.
And, one of you two will be mayor. Like, how do you plan on addressing the World Cup with all the issues that we have, like downtown? And other than that, like, what do you plan on doing with the World Cup here? Like, what would you do? Like, if you were mayor, like just to bring in more dollars spent in Wyandotte County and bring in more people here.
So, of course, trying to bring more money in, I want to assess where we are. So there is a plan in place right now. I know Wyandotte Economic Development
Task force.
Council, and I'm not calling it that. There is a committee that is working on a plan, and Wyandotte Economic Development Council and Visit KC, and there are several committees that are in place. I used to sit on one of those committees, but I've literally had to drop off because of the campaign.
Yeah.
So I'm going to get up to speed on where they are. And I'm going to do what Rose is not going to do. I'm going to cheerlead that plan. I am going to champion what their needs are and go out there and get it. I'm going to hustle it as much as I can because they deserve it, because we have waited too long to try to get these plans in motion. I know that KCMO have gotten some funding, and they've got some type of fund available to help the businesses be prepared for World Cup. We need to do the same here. And if it's not part of the plan, I'll work with Wyandotte Economic Development Council and, of course, Visit KC to see what we can do. But that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
I don't need to reinvent the wheel. I don't need to come in, I think we need to do this. No, we don't have time for that. And if I haven't been doing that in the beginning, I need to go with what has already been projected to do. And again, cheerlead and champion it as much as possible and be in front of any and everyone possible to help them achieve it.
Just because I'm not a cheerleader doesn't mean I can't.
You said it, not
do
me.
the mantra of selling the thing. I am quite the salesperson, just to be clear. So I do it differently. But the one thing that struck me about the plan that is out there today, that the committee, the task force developed, that was ready in April of this year, and it was not presented to the commission until July of this year. And I don't understand why, because it was presented less than a year to when this is coming to our community. So I think they have a lot of good things in that plan. I watched the presentation, and I've looked at the plan. I think it could be built on. To your point, there isn't a lot of time for that. However, I think to try to allow our small businesses that exist today in downtown to be able to maximize this opportunity, I would like to see us talk with law enforcement, number one, to see if it's possible. But two, I'd like to see maybe from 4th Street to 6th Street. Don't want to exclude 7th Street, but I'm just not sure what 7th Street, what the value could be added there. But so the businesses all between here almost do street type festivals here, right? Look, you're going to want to host something here. All the other places along 6th Street are going to want to host something. 5th Street's going to want to host something.
All over is going to want to host.
Well, but that's what I'm saying is, and not just down here,
right?
But any pocket of the community that wants to do it, right? So whether that's over, Argentine wants to do something, Argentine, Turner, Rosedale, Armourdale, they all want to get together and do something, right? They can do so. And we want to make sure that we have that opportunity. So little street festival type things, but sort of with a New Orleans vibe, right? Like you can migrate from business to business, you can eat, you can drink, you can be on the street and have that freedom to move about. I think that one of the thoughts is to use Memorial Hall to host a large gathering watch party. I think that's a great idea. but I think that that's not going to benefit our small businesses.
Yeah.
No.
So I like my idea better than that one. And it doesn't mean that that can't be done, but you all know St. John's is going to do it anyway, right?
Yeah.
And why should you guys not be able to the maximum extent, monetize this opportunity here?
Mm-hmm.
And also to the point that Kansas City, Missouri already has funding in place
Yeah.
for its small businesses to try to make sure that they're prepared for it.
Yep.
We got to find the money. We just do. I mean, and we're probably going to have to go to an outside source to find that money because we don't have it. But we have to do it because we have to ensure that you guys are ready to do this thing. So
You're looking at over 600,000 people coming through here.
600,000 people.
And a small business, that's a whole lot of chicken. Right?
Whole lot of cigars.
Whole lot of cigars, whole lot of Coke cans,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
These businesses need help, and we've got to find the funding for them. And that's the biggest thing that the mayor can do. What else can the mayor do?
Yeah.
You know, these committees have been going on already, you know, and to Rose's plan, I mean, how's the commission supposed to vote on putting any funding in place if they even had it? But let me tell you this, because this is probably, was that our last question?
No, we got two more.
Oh, okay, go
But
ahead.
we got like
I'll-
10 minutes.
I'll
so-
stop.
oh Lord.
Okay.
No, go ahead. You can't stop
No,
on that.
what I want to say is if we had additional revenue streams available, we would not be in the situation we're in. We have relied on the personal property tax to be our end all for revenue, and that cannot be.
Yeah.
So when we talk about all these issues, right? When we talk about the bridge and infrastructure need, when we talk about programs to help build capacity for existing small businesses and to bring new business in, we have to look at other revenue streams in order to do this.
Yeah.
So how do we look at that? We look at the 1% earnings tax, right? We look at building, you know, more housing in the vacant 400 land bank properties we have.
4,000.
Or 4,000. It's 4,000. Yeah, 4,000 land banks. We look at those opportunities, right? And that is our way of dealing with some of those issues.
Agreed.
Okay. So we got two more questions left.
Okay.
Like 10 minutes.
Okay.
What are you
Keep it
binging
short,
right now?
Rose.
No, so Rose, this one's for you. So in July 2025, the commission voted to allow property taxes to rise by up to 3 mills,
Just let us
potentially
right into that question.
potentially increasing bills for many residents. This has occurred despite significant public demand for tax relief. What do you think of the decision, and what would you change, if any?
So what do I think of the decision? The up to 3 mills, the last time I looked at the proposed budget, it was 1.5 on the county side, and I think 2 maybe on the city side. So they had not gone up to the 3, just to be clear. We have to look at all the other taxing entities that are there, right? School district, library, KCKCC, all those other things are there too. All of them are voting to exceed revenue neutral. Costs are going up for all of us, including the unified government. We have to understand that and be practical about this, right? If if we put in place revenue neutral and my personal property tax bill goes down $14 a year, which is what happened maybe last year or the year before, although it was less than 14, is that going to fix our bridges? Is that going to fill our potholes? And is that going to give me 2 more police officers? No.
Yeah.
Not going to do any of those things, right? Those are all high priorities of ours right now. So we have to be very, very careful about how we deal with this. And we have to make informed decisions. We have to make informed spending decisions, and we have to make informed decisions on how quickly can we get the development that's been waiting on the sidelines into this city to bring us new streams of revenue and expand our tax base. Because without it, how much further can we go with this?
Yeah.
Right? I'll end it there.
I think I kind of answered the question.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the revenue streams. That's what I'm going to come in looking at day one. I'm already looking at it, right? That is one of our options, right? So I'm 100% behind finding those revenue streams, seeing what's possible. I think the other thing that I want us to be able to do is just explore what other budget models we can look at. I don't think that revenue neutral is the end all, but when you look at it, it's all about personal property tax. It's really not addressing anything else when it comes to services or funding. So I think we need to stop relying on the one positive thing about it is that it forces us to look at other ways of getting revenue in without raising the property value. And I think in the past, that's all we've looked at as its source. And we've used it as a crutch. So we need to stop doing that. And if there are other options on the table for us to consider, then I think that we need to look at that seriously. Yeah. So that means we need to partner with our state representatives or state senators that are trying to push the 1% earnings tax, for example. I know when I lived here in Kansas and worked in Missouri, I paid the 1% tax and I never saw it.
Same.
Basically. So we need to understand what's taking our legislators at a state level so long to look at this, because I understand it's been on the table for the past 2 years. But that's $50 million plus.
Half a bridge.
That's half a bridge. We can't put it all on one bridge.
Can't
But
fix
that's
it
half
all.
a bridge right there.
Just fix the Kansas side.
Big Band-Aids.
We've got to be more engaged at a state level on the issues that we face in Wyandotte County. Mm-hmm. The state requires certain services that we need to perform, but yet they don't fully fund them all.
Yeah.
So we need to push back a little, right? Conservatively, right? And figure this out. And I don't think we've really had a champion or cheerleader to do that. Mm-hmm. So that's what we've got to do. And that's how I want to approach it and address it head on and make those tough decisions we need to make.
Yeah. Okay. And so my last question is, and I'll let you go first, Christal. What does your first 100 days look like if you get elected?
So when I get elected, my first 100 days will be spent on my platform, people, process, and policy. Mm-hmm. I will first address the people in the first 90 days. That means the commissioners, number one. And let me just be more specific. I'll identify the team for the mayor's office. Secondly, identify the implementation team. So that means we're going to go out and talk to people and begin to immediately build those teams. I'll thirdly work with the team to build our dashboard, because I want people within the first 90 days to know what we're working on and what things we plan to address. From there, we'll schedule the quarterly town halls in each of the areas and begin to put that information, that data that comes from those quarterly town hall meetings into that dashboard. I'll then begin to work with the staff. If I could, I don't really try hard, do like a big all hands meeting for all staff. We do that for KCK, Kansas Public Schools. They have a big convocation. Mm-hmm. We don't ever really do that at Unified Government. And I think it would be good, because we need to build relationships. And I just want people to enjoy their jobs and to enjoy working at the UG. So many of them are very dedicated and they stay at the UG because of the people. So if people are our greatest asset within UG, then I want us to feel good about continuing to work with one another. And so it's just really a celebration of who we are as Unified Government, who we are as City Hall. And I would really love to be able to do that in the first 90 days. But I'll definitely make a tour with the different departments. And of course, that includes working one-on-one with the county administrator and the assistant county administrators. And then I think there's one more thing I want to do in that first 100 days. I think that'll do it. I think that's enough, right? That's a lot there in that
Fix
first.
the damn bridge too.
I'll also outline on that dashboard what our top priorities will be. And then we'll include what the priorities are of the community and try to categorize them into the implementation teams, because I want everything to be done through the implementation teams, because let's not be fooled. The mayor cannot fix all of the issues. No. The mayor doesn't even have the power to do that. But what the mayor can do is use their power of influence to galvanize the community and us working through those issues together.
Well, first of all, if if I wind up losing the election, I hope Christal puts me on an implementation team because I want to implement some
Which
things.
one you want, Rose? Let's
We'll talk.
identify that
We'll
right
talk.
now.
We got to fix the bridge for Mike.
You ain't kidding. That's all I care about.
That's right. This is direct influence right here,
here.
right on the camera.
I got
all
both
things.
of y'all. So yeah.
Yes.
That's right. That's right. So first 100 days. So oddly, and I don't know if you guys know this. I know we know this, but so the swearing in occurs December 15th. So
It
10 days
does.
before Christmas. So honestly, I would like us as a community to, during the first couple days anyway, reflect on, sort of the hope and the promise, of the birth of my personal Savior, Jesus Christ, as we celebrate the Christmas season, but all of the other holidays we celebrate in there as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
We've got Hanukkah, we have Kwanzaa, we've got, Islamic holidays, Buddhist holidays, pagan holidays, all kinds of holidays that are in that, period of time. And I want us to reflect on that as a community because we are on the verge of changing. We're transforming this community. Either one of us is going to do this at this point because one of us is going to be elected.
Mm-hmm.
And what I hear out of both of us is a message of hope and a message of next generation Wyandotte County. It's going to be Wyandotte County 2.0, right? Both of us are bringing that. We're not going to focus on the sins of the past. There are a lot of them. But what we have to do in the future, first of all, obviously going to meet, before the swearing in, I'm going to try to meet with every commissioner there is, right? When I win, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to meet with every commissioner that is available and has time. We want to start setting those priorities for their constituents right out of the gate. See where those common issues are, and let's see where we can go and how quickly we can get some implemented because they're common across the majority, if not all, the commissioners at that point, right? Let's do that. Number two, I'm actually going to hold 6 or 8 different town halls during that period of time. We'll hold them throughout the year, but I want to hold them immediately because I want to hear immediately from the constituency, all of which we've just heard from during this campaign, right? Because I want to hear the new influence from them after the first of the year. I want to hear up close and personal again what the priorities are, right? Make no mistake about it. Want to have a connection with our community. I am going to kindly ask our county administrator to produce a report within 30 days, and it shouldn't be hard since we've just gone through this last year with a consultant, to identify where potential overlaps may exist and or inefficiencies may exist inside the unified government, so we can fix those, we can tweak those, we can right those wrongs, and we can take out the bureaucratic red tape that has been forcing business owners and home developers and people like that to have too long of a delay to actually try to get in business here and bring revenue to this community. Okay? That one should not be hard. And I want recommendations from them in this report as to what they think we should do with regard to if there are overlaps between departments. I don't want anyone to lose their job, by the way. I don't want that at all. I don't think any of us want that at all. But there are open positions available now. I know we're on a hiring freeze, but if we can repurpose people because maybe we have an overlap in this department, and if you read the audit, you will see that perhaps there is in some areas, repurpose them in another area, right? Do something along those lines as well. The other thing I'd like to do is start putting together the meetings with the other taxing entities. I know it's been so hard to do because you have to give 10 days advance notice to people. And for some reason, over the period of the last many years, nobody could seem to give that 10 days notice. I don't know. But even if it has to be 1 off, 2 off, because these have to be public meetings, we want to meet with community college. I want to meet with the library, want to meet with the school districts, right? Let's all talk about, maybe there's some efficiencies that can be gained if we actually pool our resources for something so we can take the tax burden off of our residents and businesses here. I'm sure there's something else I'll do in the 100 days, but I feel like that's kind of a lot.
Yeah. No, you guys got a lot on your plate.
We do.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, I'm excited to have one of you be mayor, and it is very
you.
hopeful. And I want to thank you guys for coming on. This was good. I would say
Yeah,
let's
it
do this
was.
again, but I don't think we
fun.
can. So
Yeah, I'm sure our schedule. Actually, I'm so glad this worked out for our schedule because this is something that is incredibly enjoyable to do.
Yeah.
and
It is.
You
Yeah,
make it
'cause
such a
it's
relaxed
a little bit
environment.
different because it's just like, you don't have a time limit on a question. You
Yep.
can just talk.
No,
and then
it's true.
you can just talk with each other. And
It is.
yeah. So
And it allows us to really come from our heart.
Yeah.
And because we do, I think that anyway. But, when you
just don't
don't
have
have
that.
just
You don't have a
90
long
seconds
forum of like being
or
able to
60
talk.
seconds to
Yeah.
respond, it makes a difference, right?
Yeah.
The families are what is most important in our community, and supporting them is why we're here.
Yeah. Well, I thank you guys for coming on. I said good luck to both of you. And I
Thank
appreciate
you.
everything. Yes. And yeah, so we'll end it with that. Thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Make sure you follow us on all social media platforms at Strawberry Hill Podcast. And make sure you go vote November 4th. Especially if you
Register
live
to
in
vote by
Wyandotte County.
October 15th.